What's up, everybody? This is your first time here, welcome. If this is not your first time here, welcome back. Today we are riding to Bartell's Harley Davidson to pick up a bike. So here it is, 2019 Harley Davidson Low Rider, 107 cubic inch V-twin belt drive. So it has a nice luggage rack. The first thing that I notice on this bike that I really like is that everything is made out of metal. Right? It's very sturdy. It's a heavy bike. And all the lights, all the housings, metal. All the grip details, metal. Triple clamps, everything is metal. All the details are stainless and chrome. Really impressive visually and from a construction standpoint. Yeah, this is a little cheesy in that here's the real gas cap. This is a faux gas cap. It doesn't actually do anything. So I don't know if I like that a whole lot, but you know, there's from a cosmetic standpoint that's lacking to me. I don't mind the asymmetry if that faux cap wasn't there. The seat itself, right? So you have room for two passengers, a nice little back seat so that whoever is in the back would be comfortable and have some extra support because this bike is pretty torquey. And this shape here I like because it really cradles you and under acceleration, which seems to be a nice thing. Right, pegs in the back, and it comes with a nice Harley Davidson branded leather bag. You can put some things in here, I suppose. So it has the belt, and then it has this plastic clip. I guess it's easy for speed. I like the actual belt function. So it clips on. You can tighten it down with the belt. All this chrome covering, so a lot of chrome, right? This kind of a typical Harley Davidson expectation is that you'll have tons of chrome. Transmission case, pretty large, so when you're riding, it gets in the way a little bit when you're trying to put your feet down, but it's not terrible. We've got forward controls here. Nice details though, right? Made in Milwaukee, USA. So the headquarters and the design center for Harley Davidson is in Milwaukee, so they're really keeping that branding strong, which is unique. As far as the controls go, you've got blinker, left blinker, right blinker, which I really like from a design standpoint. It's pretty intuitive, easy to access, easy to get to. And I really like the keyless start. It's kind of a unique thing. My expectation, or my judgment of Harley, is that they're low-tech, kind of an antiquated machine, but they've incorporated this keyless fob. So I actually don't know where the key would go if you really wanted to start the bike manually. I have no idea. Right, so there's room for more understanding there from my perspective. I don't know what you do with this, but this fob is nice. Right, so you put this in your pocket, and as long as you are on the bike, near the bike, you can jump on and start it up. Right, so here you've got, turn your power on this way, and this is nice. So you've got access to all of your information here through this button on the left control, so you can flip through trip A, trip B, how many miles you've got left in the tank, which is actually a really nice detail. So you've got the visual gauge showing you, half tank, quarter tank, what have you, but you've also got a readout of the miles as well, which is really useful on longer trips, or if you're just kind of unsure about when should you stop for gas. Set your time, and then obviously your overall miles. This layout is kind of nice. I will say that this isn't necessarily in the most useful visual space as far as your tachometer. This gets lost while I'm riding because I don't look down all the way like this. I'm usually only looking down this way, which just puts you in your speedo line of sight, which I guess is okay. I mean, that's probably the most important thing. You don't want to be breaking the law, and your tachometer is probably less important when you're riding, but just a simple thing to note. And again, this is also referencing back to Harleys of old, so I get the design from a historic standpoint and wanting to be relevant to the brand's heritage. So that's cool. And let's get this thing on the road and see how she rides. Low speed, this bike isn't quite as nimble as obviously the sport bikes or the standard nakeds or some of these other off-road vehicles, but it's heavy enough that once you get going, it has enough momentum to keep itself upright. It doesn't require a whole lot of muscling once you get a little bit of speed under your belt. At low speed though, or at very low speed or off of a stop, the bike's a little tipsy-turvy, I'll say. You know, usually I'm inclined to crack the throttle just a little bit to get some centrifugal force to keep the bike upright. Because this bike, the engine on the V-twin itself, moves a lot slower, I'm finding less benefit from cracking the throttle. I mean, a little bit, but the bike is pretty heavy. For me, it's okay because the bike is low enough where I'm able to flat foot it. If its center of gravity was much higher, it would be harder to keep from toppling over. But you have forward controls. You have a nice sturdy shift lever, which is a little different than on your maybe Japanese bikes or non-cruiser bikes, I'll say. This is a pretty substantial member here. Decent visibility out of the mirrors. Can't see behind you entirely, but you get good visibility to either side for sure. I've seen some of these bikes that have longer mirrors and such. I like the aesthetics of these mirrors though. Not too big and cumbersome. The bike itself is already pretty wide, so I wouldn't imagine you'd want to have mirrors also hanging off the sides, increasing your wingspan by that much either. Seat's comfortable, right? Riding over these speed bumps, just kind of eat those up, and it's not sending feedback through your spine, which is nice. The V-twin does have a satisfying feeling, right? So the exhaust on this bike is stock, it's not super loud, but I can feel the vibration. It's not massive, but I feel enough through the foot pegs and through the handlebars and through the seat where I can feel the vibration of the motor, and it's like a thump 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 thump, right? Which they say resonates with your heartbeat, and that's part of the attraction to these bikes. I can see that. 107 cubic inches, pulls pretty hard, but I'll say it's a slow pull. The engine revs slower and also decelerates slower than some other bikes, so I noticed that I'm getting less engine brake than on some of the higher performing engines like the inline 4s or even the parallel twin on the Yamahas. So these coast more easily, more readily. But because of that, it's nice that you can really lay heavy on the brakes if you need to. And because of the riding position, your feet are forward and your arms are stretched out, so when you do hit the gas or do hit the brakes and hit them hard, you're in a position to really withstand that and not just go sliding forward like you do on a sport bike or even on the sport nakeds, where your body's more inclined to throw you forward. Here you've got nice structure, physical structure to hold you in place under heavy braking. The bike handles pretty well. It doesn't require much muscling to go through the turns. It just seems to lean in, which is kind of surprising, actually. You know, the belt drive system does feel pretty smooth. A little bit less snap than you get with a chain drive system. Brakes work pretty well. And this is a pretty big bike, so for it to stop on that short of a notice, I give the bike some props for some stopping power. Something that I do like, all the grips or all the controls are made of metal, so it has a really nice sturdy feel. thick controls here. Makes you feel like you can really pull on the levers and not break them off. I mean, if I'm being quite honest, I'm actually more impressed with the braking power on this bike than most of anything else. As far as a difference from, or a variance from, the sport bikes that have been on, or you know, the standard naked bikes, the FC07s, the MT09s, I feel more confident really mashing the brakes on this Harley than I do on any other bike that I've been on. So that's an interesting feeling, which I suppose is a good thing since this bike is so heavy in relation to these other bikes anyway. But she really does get up and go in the first couple of gears. And it's pretty smooth. I mean, it puts you back in your seat, but the way that the seat is shaped, it really just cradles you and makes you feel in control while under heavy acceleration. So in summary, you know, overall I like the bike. For the price point, I don't think this bike is for me. I'm a bit more of a sporty rider. I like to have bikes that are a little bit more nimble. But if I were to go for longer rides, longer distances, if I have luggage, things like this is an incredible bike. I mean, Harley Davidson's been around for over 100 years, and with good reason. They make a quality product. The characteristics of the product, at least for this particular product, are great for some riders. I understand why people really gravitate towards these bikes. The material usage and the detail is impeccable. The engine gives you some really visceral feedback that I like. The lack of control and nimbleness at low speeds is problematic for me. Maybe this takes a bit more getting used to. And I see a lot of guys that really just tear things up on these bikes. And it could just be practice, right? Seat time, getting used to the machine.